Welcome back. My name is Brandon. Behind me is our latest project. We're going to be building another chiropractor table on an electric lift, and today I'm going to bring you in on the design, build, concept, and all the challenges that you face along the way. Stick around. We have a beautiful day here today in Maine. It's currently October 7th. It's 86 degrees. Absolutely beautiful. A little wind in the background. Loving life. So we're going to be doing a lot of our work outside today. Get a little bit of that vitamin D sunshine. Today I'm going to let you in on the aspects of building and design and making things come together for your customers so that they end up with a product that they're happy about. These are some of the designs of the chiropractor tables I've been building. They're for children so that children can be adjusted. This one is waiting on the top to be built, or the foam pad. The reason these cars are under here and like this is so that children aren't overly intimidated when they go into the chiropractor or doctor's office. It kind of helps relieve some of that stress for them. This is another table that I've created. Well, this is the car. The table's not with it right now. We had to do a bunch of different electrical work to it. I've wired up some switches so that the headlights come on, and it's got a bunch of LED neon lighting as well. So now the customer wants me to build one of these electric lift tables using one of these trains. We've worked through a couple parameters and things that we need to keep consistent and have work properly. So in order for this to be the right height, we can't have this to the top of the table frame that we're going to build be any more than 28 inches. Right now it's at 31 and we can't go any lower. So that means a couple things. We have to take off these tires. This car is just basically the same width as the lift, or extend them out so that we can drop this frame down a little bit lower. And this is what the frame looks like without the car on it. It's got a place in the back to plug in a cord here, and it's got a remote that raises and lower it, and it's got a 350-pound weight limit. Obviously this car is a toy pedal car made for kids to ride on, so we're going to have to do a bunch of modification to this to make all this work out. He also wants me to put some LED around the perimeter of this. So I got with the customer, explained to him the concerns that I had, that the car is way too tall sitting on top of that lift, and that the only way to really make it lower and workable is if I remove the tires. So I can remove the tires, that'll get us to the right height, but he also thinks that he wants the tires back on it so he can see what it looks like with it on it. The first step that I'm going to do is remove the tires, set it on the lift, check the height, send a picture, see what he thinks. Then I'm going to modify a section to put the wheels out outside of this frame, which will allow me to still keep the same height. It'll allow the tires to stay on it, but the tires will just be a little bit wider. We'll take a picture of that and see what he thinks. These are just some of the things that you have to deal with when you're trying to work through design as you build. And a lot of this custom work, there is no script for this. You just have to do it and have to figure it out. So that's what we're going to be doing today, and I'm going to show you as I work through that process and how that goes. Because I'm going to be lifting this up and then setting it on there, and we're not going to be using the pedals or any other thing, we don't need any of this stuff. So it makes sense to get as much of the stuff that's never going to be used again out of the way to lighten this up, because then it's just going to make setting it off and on the multiple times that we have to do it that much easier. So we don't need these things like flapping around and just looking like they don't belong there, because they don't. Once we get all of this stuff out of there, we can set the car back on it. It'll be considerably lighter. Then try to figure out how we're going to attach the car to the frame, because we need to make it so that it can unbolt and bolt together. So there'll be bolts here and here, here and here. That way you can take the top section off if need be to get it through a narrow doorway or whatever. These are all the little considerations that when you build something that you have to do. Somebody buying this could end up having a real small narrow doorway, whatever. You don't know what people's situations are, so they may need to separate the two, or the motor craps out in this and they need to get a new motor. You just unbolt the top half of the car and then purchase another one of these and just bolt it back up to it. And we're looking to really not have this much higher than 28 inches. That's kind of our goal. Anything higher than that and it becomes problematic apparently to the chiropractor. That's why we're having to do all these things and lower it down, because we do have constraints. This kit comes with wheels. If they use the wheels, it raises this entire thing 3 inches. It also comes with rubber feet. If they put the rubber feet on it instead of the wheels, it only raises it 1 inch. We want this to be as low as possible on that frame, ideally so they can use the wheels and have it be, when it's at its lowest, comfortable for even a short chiropractor to be able to adjust kids. That's the goal. Now we got the car stripped down about as far as we need it to be so that we can start working on a frame to attach it to this lift. So now we've gone from being 31 inches down to 23.5. And I think that that is going to work excellent. So my thoughts is to take a piece of angle iron that goes like this and this. So 2-inch angle iron. That'll allow me to bolt it here and here. It'll be the width of these bars. Then take a piece of 1x1 tube straight up, weld that to this, do the same thing here, and then connect the frame to it all the way around the perimeter. And that's it, keeping the frame as low as we possibly can. And then I'll build a frame that goes back, put a hole in it so we can attach these wheels onto it just like that. Yeah, that's going to work good, and that's going to look nice too. That's going to kind of give it the same aesthetics. It's going to kind of help hide all of this, and it'll still give me a place to run some LED up under there to kind of keep things hidden and just kind of add a little bit of pizzazz, you know. And also, when this is done, I'm going to take all my dimensions and put it down on paper, so if he wants to build another one of these, I don't actually need necessarily the car to start building the frame. He can order the car, I can start building the frame, and then once the car gets here, I can disassemble everything that needs to be disassembled on it. So right now we need 2 pieces at 17.5. Alright, got my pieces cut. And we can stack those on there, get our holes made in it, and we just build our frame off all that. At this point, I've built several of these chiropractor tables for kids. In each one, I'm kind of learning a little bit. We're doing it together as a team, and we're just kind of growing and learning as we go. That's how a lot of this stuff goes as far as like research and development goes. You just build something, find out what works, if it works. What might work well on paper and concept may not work that great in the actual real world. So we're kind of working through all this stuff, working out the bugs as we go, and then fine-tuning everything. But so far, this design seems to be the best design that I've done so far. Now I got the car set on here pretty evenly, left to right. This is going to work great. That gives us about 1.25 inches from the edge of the body to the edge of this metal. And we're using 1-inch square tube to build the frame. So there's going to be 4 legs that come up. Then there's going to be a frame that goes all the way around it. So that'll give us 1/4 inch of clearance between the edge of this body and the vertical upright. Again, this is all going to be welded together, so it's not like that distance will ever expand or close up or be any different. Then it's nice and convenient to get the bolts in and out because it's right here out in the open. So while we got it right here, my thoughts is that I'm going to take a piece of angle iron, weld it on top of this frame that goes this way and up so that we can take these out, put a carriage bolt through it so it gives a nice rounded head here, and then we can bolt the tires back on just like this so it'll look like it was. Remember, the tires were down here under it, but now they're going to be up here just like this, and that'll look great. And that'll give us some room for some LED all in behind here to kind of highlight everything. So I think that that's the next step that we're going to do, is cut some angle iron to this width right here. Adapt and overcome. I didn't have any 1.5 inch angle, so I went with 1-inch square, and that's going to work perfect. Plus it'll make it a little more rigid. Again, I'll take this bolt out, put a carriage bolt through it, and then this will be right about the height that it'll be at, and then cinch it right down because these won't need to spin. That'll also give us a nice surface when you unbolt the car from the lift frame, that this will actually set down on the tires because it's rubber, and it'll be, you know, no mar. You won't have to worry about it marring the furniture or the floor or anything else. Lay this out and see how we want to do it. Probably something like that. Right there. As you can see, a lot of this stuff that I'm doing is for aesthetics, making sure that it looks good and then going from there. Now it's time to start getting things welded up. I've got a few bolts down through the angle into the frame so we can keep our distance this way, and I've got it spaced out, these horizontal pieces, onto our lines that we made earlier for our width, and now we can start welding it. I think my process is I'm going to get a couple tacks on the inside of each of these and then pull this assembly off so we're not working around the painted finishes of this lift, and then we can continue to build the rest of our pieces. My only concern is that once all 4 arms are on it, and if I go to put the top around the perimeter, am I going to have enough room to slip the car down inside of this so that we can bolt it or weld it down to this frame? That I don't know. I'm a little concerned about that. I'm going to get the verticals clamped onto this first and get all this assembled together, and then try to slip the car in before we put the top on it. Whenever I'm putting something like this together, I like to take my time with the fit up. I'm not in a rush to tack things down until I know everything's sitting straight and square and where it needs to be. It's easy to get excited and start welding too soon, but once you start putting heat in the metal, things can move around really fast. This one's a total design as I go project, so I don't have a print or a plan to follow. I'm just kind of figuring it out as I build. So I want to make sure everything and all the parts line up before I commit. So I'm going to clamp, measure, double check, sometimes even step back and just look at it for a minute to see if it feels right. I'm also running the fume extractor the whole time. You can probably see it pulling the smoke away in the background. It does a great job keeping the air clean in the shop, and it just makes it a lot more comfortable to work. Once I'm happy with the setup, I'll go ahead, tack things in place, but until then, I'd rather spend a few extra minutes checking and adjusting to make sure that I don't have to cut something apart later. Taking your time up front always saves you in the long run. Super good news. I can put this top on all the way around and still drop the car down in it. That's going to save me a lot of time, which in turn saves the customer money, because I'm not going to have to put the car down inside here, fasten the car down, and then weld the top on. So now I'm welding around a finished product and then have to tape off that finished product and then paint all around it. The width of this needs to be this wide, and this is roughly 36 inches long end for end, and he wants it 40. So you could put, I think, between, what did he say, 2 and 7? I can't remember. He gave me an age range and he said, but 40 inches is usually pretty good for those size kids. So it's going to have a little bit of an overhang on each side, which is good because that'll allow me, once the frame's all built, to set the car directly down in it, and we'll use a couple little angle brackets probably coming off this, and we can just bolt it through. Nice and easy, so that way we're not even having to weld against that red paint or anything like that. It'll just be all a bolted connection. So I'll have this frame, once it's all built, paint it all black, drop the car in it, bolt it in, done. Then we can set this whole entire frame on that lift assembly, bolt that down, done. This is the thought process that I'm thinking about the entire time that I'm doing stuff. I try not to get too far ahead of myself. It's easy to do though, especially when you get into a rhythm and you're building stuff, but that's why I'm a firm believer of just tacking stuff together. Make sure you just tack it, because if you fully weld it out, it's just more you got to cut if you get it wrong. Now we can set this aside because it's all welded out, and then build the top. The top's going to be 17 1/4 wide by 40 long. It's going to be a rectangle with mitered corners. Alright, now we got to get this stuff fixtured up. Makes it real easy with my fixture table that I built. Leave a little gap so our weld metal has a place to go. Very little gap, you don't need much. This is real thin wall material, so I don't want to blow it apart. And that's it. I don't have to check it for square. I don't have to do anything fancy to make sure that it's right. It's clamped down and I know it is. And I built this table using a template, and if you want to see how I did it, I'll have a link up above. The plan is to eventually, this whole surface that you see here, this is an adjustable motorcycle lift table. Eventually what I'm going to do is put a full 4x8 sheet 1/2 inch thick on top of this, so that way I'll have an adjustable fab table that goes up and down, so I can put other things on it. So you can still work on motorcycles and equipment and do other stuff like that. Setup is what takes all the time. We'll weld this frame up because we know that this frame has to be this size. We'll tack it onto the base that we just built. Make sure that it does work and we can get the car in it. Once we've assured that the car will fit down in it without any clearance issues and any problems, then we'll fully weld it out. Alright, I had to do the little TikTok tack thing that they do over there on TikTok because I left my gap a little too wide on this and it started blowing a hole through it. So you probably saw me like click, click, click doing little stuff. You know, they wave their finger at you, they wag their finger, and then they show you how they tack. That's really not the way to weld, but something like this, it works just perfect. I hate that finger wagging thing. Drives me nuts. Makes you feel like you're an idiot. You know, no, just no, don't do that. Make sure you do it the right way. Tack, 100, 1,000 tacks along this thing. That's how they portray that it's supposed to be done. A lot of times when they're doing it with like a stick rod and trapping slag inside of it. Yeah, anyways, enough of that. Let's keep going. And my settings on this, I'm using 30 thousandths solid Lincoln wire. I'm using 12 CFH of gas, roughly right around there, and right about 85 amps. And when I have a setting that I like that works really good with the material, I'll write it down. That way I can go right back to it. And you can tell if you don't have a lot of spatter and not a lot of cleanup, your settings are probably pretty close. I did not weld the inside corner or the outside corner yet. The reason for that is because when I welded this top and bottom, I kept it flat, square, and level. If I unclamp this to get the MIG gun in there to get a good weld on the inside, it's going to start warping this. So I want to weld this frame to that base. Once that's done, then we can finish welding the insides of this. That'll keep everything nice and square. These are just tips of things that you learn over the years of what to do and what not to do. Piece of cake, just use a bar clamp, give a little turn, there you go, flush. By having the base clamped down to the table, that's preventing the bottom of it from racking when I start squeezing the top. I don't normally do this, but I'm feeling a little bit like a rebel today, and I am going to fully weld out this top piece without double checking if that car will fit down in it. So fingers crossed. I'm 99.999% sure that this will work. Hopefully my confidence doesn't come back to bite me. We'll see. Alright, I double checked it. It will fit, but it's going to be tight. I'm going to have to grind my welds flush on the inside of this to get it to work, because it is about 15 and an eighth inside to inside, and the car measures 15. I don't want to pound the car down in there and take a chance of scratching the paint, so I'm going to have to sand these welds down a little bit so they're not proud just on the inside. Other than that, I can fully weld this out. We're almost done with this, clean it up, and then we can drop the car down into it. Well, paint it and then drop the car down into it. And here's the frame all built, all painted. It's got 3 coats of paint, 3 coats of clear coat, and I am super happy with how this turned out. He wanted the top, as we mentioned earlier, 40 inches, so that's 40 inches long, 17 inch wide. When this is all said and done, this will be 28 inches tall to the top of the pad. So this is going to have a pad that extends out 2 inches on each side. The upholsterer is building it. It's probably going to hang out, I don't know, like a ½ an inch maybe. And then he makes like a cutout for your face, so when you lay down, your head kind of fits in that area. So it's pretty cool. These, I'll have to have him send me some pictures when it's all done, but I do my part and then he does the rest and does his part for the top. So now I've made it pretty simple for myself. Took a couple L brackets, and the car is going to bolt directly to that. And then where the metal frame goes this way underneath, I'm just going to put, same idea, you'll see here in a minute. Now the moment of truth to put the car in. Couple bolts to bolt it in, and it's all set. I shouldn't have put on that back tire because it made it hard to get this bolt through. Oh no, after I do a few of these, we'll get it down packed and mastered. Now we can put the tire back on. I don't know if I can get my arm in there to show you what I need to do, but that's how the front of this is going to get held in there. We've got it back in the workshop, and we're going to get ready to mount it on this electric lift base. But if you see what I'm talking about, now this unit is sitting on the floor. There's no metal contact anywhere. This is actually sitting on the wheels. So when this is bolted to that lift, everything, all the forces are transferred down into the lift. Nothing is going through the car. And here's a finished look of that up front with that all clamped down. That's not going anywhere. Whenever I do stuff, I try to use good hardware, and I try to use nylon locking nuts when I can. That just helps eliminate any vibrations so that things don't vibrate loose. These motors are just about silent. I love it. These will go up like 24 inches. They got a massive amount of adjustment on them. That tested out nicely, so now let's get the wheels on it. Alright, with our wheels all on, locks on all four corners, and now we just got to put on some LED lights, and then we can get this turned back over to the customer. It's a pretty simple kit. This one is 12 volts, and this is the controller. This is what receives the signal. Then it runs on 120 volt power. I'm going to get to working on this, and then I'll show you what it looks like once we're all said and done. I just bought this adapter. This is going to make life so much easier. The way this is going to work is that the cord that powers the lift is going to plug into this side right here. Then the other side right there is going to plug into the lift, and then this side is going to feed the LED lights. It's going to be super easy. So now there's only one cord coming off the machine to feed all this stuff. It's going to be super easy, nice and clean, and it'll be all self-contained. And it's got tons of settings. You can just change the mode. So, you know, they're flashing faster. Now they're doing like a fade. You got to aim it inside the car at that white receiver. That's the receiver. It works like a TV remote. How your TV remote has to aim at the TV. Pretty slick. Let me turn off the light so you can see how this looks. Now we just got to send this off to the upholsterer and have him do his thing. That's inside the car. That's outside the car. It's got like some underglow action going on, and that looks sharp. And here you can see the finished product. The upholsterer sent over some pictures of his work, and these types of projects only come out as good as all the sums of all the individual pieces, and he did a great job on this. I'm real happy, and hopefully the customer will be too. And that's all there's to it. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight into what is involved into creating something that's like a one-off or never been done. It's not like you're building like a set of stairs or something like this. This is all stuff that's like uncharted territory that no one's done. So you're kind of learning and figuring it out as you go, and there's always going to be some growing problems or growing pains. I've got this thing that I'm working on back in the workshop with a little bit of growing pains on the electrical. When we plug in the LED lights, because this one is self-contained, I've wired it up so that it can be charged, and then everything's fused, and you can plug in the LED lights. But the LED lights seem to be drawing this battery down, so I'm going to have to put a gauge on it to see if, in fact, it is drawing when it's off and plugged in. Because if that's the case, then I might have to just wire this in direct to a 120 volt system and not be able to power it up with 12 volts. So then I relocated the switch onto the side to make it more accessible for the headlights. So we're gaining. It's getting there. Like I say, whenever you create something that's a one-off, there's always bound to be a few bugs here and there that you got to work through, but we're getting it. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're wondering about any of the things that you see me using, I'll have links down below. Check out some of my other tool build videos. And until next week, I will see you then. Take care, stay safe, and God bless.